broadcast network, Afterbuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. Afterbuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, Afterbuzzers, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 3 of NBC's new hit show, Aquarius. I'm your host, Guy David. You can find me on Twitter at Guy and a Girl Show and Facebook. Unfortunately, I don't have Instagram. I don't like taking photos, but I better get into that. But Guy and a Girl Show on Twitter. You can tweet me during the show. I'll tweet you back. Now, I'm alongside my lovely co-host tonight.
Oh, thank you. And you guys can follow me on Instagram because I do like posting photos, and I have a lot of them. My name is Paige Bonanno, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, any social media at Paige Bonanno. And we are so excited to have you guys here tonight to talk about Aquarius. This show is just really cool and intense so far, and we love it. So we're excited to talk to you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I mentioned last week, I was so excited as soon as I saw this show was coming out, because, man, I'm a 60s man. Yeah. I wish I was reborn in the 60s.
Really?
It's boring these days. Twitter's boring. Social media is boring.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? The drugs, the sex, the rock and roll, the politics.
Right. Just the free love, everything that was going on then.
All in the 60s. And I really think NBC so far has done a really good job of showing that, because I didn't know whether going in if this was a period piece showcase in the 60s about the Manson murders in particular, about that history, or really what it is. But it's going many different ways at the moment. I'm enjoying it. So what are your thoughts? Because we didn't work together last week.
Yeah, I know. I was gone last week, unfortunately. But no, I totally agree. I think that, I was really interested in this piece at the beginning just because I think Charles Manson is so interesting, and just reading all about that time period. And I think it's really interesting to read all about all that. And I think that although I wish this show had a little bit more about him rather than the detective and the cops and stuff, I still think it's going in a good direction, and they're doing a good job of showing, how the cops acted back then, and how all the sex, drugs, rock and roll, everything, how that actually played out. So I think that they're doing a good job on that so far, although I wish that, there was a little bit more about Charlie and not as much about Sam Hodiak,
So that's what I thought too. This is a fictional characters. There are fictional characters. Sam Hodiak didn't exist, but obviously we know Charles Manson did. He's still alive. He's in jail. He's 80 years old. And I thought it'd be more based on him and the murders. Maybe I didn't do my research well.
It's more, the show is just leading up to the murders.
Are they going to go that deep?
I think so. The whole thing is them leading up from, the start. These cops are just looking at, they just find a couple things that are going on, and then they keep investigating, and then it leads them to when they had the Tate LaBianca murders. So it leads them to the final Sharon Tate.
We are going to get up to that.
That's what I think. That's what I've been told. I haven't seen the whole thing. I know that, you can watch the entire season so far already, but we're going week by week, so bear with us, and hopefully we'll have some good predictions and figure it out.
Yeah, I've only watched 3 episodes, so
yeah, and I have 2. I'm going to watch it week by week, so we can.
Don't skip ahead of me.
I won't.
It's unfair.
I won't. We'll stay together.
The people watching at home that have watched the whole season, bear with us. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Just watch it. Follow this path with us on Afterbuzz TV.
Exactly.
So, what have we got?
Let's get into the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
From where we started. So immediately we see, Sam's ex-wife Sam's ex-wife is sleeping with one of the guys that he's working with. So that was kind of crazy in what it was, because Sam went crazy, and he was like, you know what? I don't care. She was a drunk, whatever, but I'm not going to work with liars. Yeah. So the relationship was totally severed there. I think that they're still going to be able to work together on the case. But, he was sleeping with his ex-wife. And he was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. There's morals. There's morals to it. That's what he said. So
average move by him being Sam's boss and everything, but it is the 60s. But
exactly.
Sam's wife, she just comes across as a moron.
She just seems like she. I mean, he said that she was a drunk and that she was just not. I don't know if she was a good mom or not. I mean, I don't think he's touched on that, but it just seems kind of like she.
I mean, I don't know what he was doing in the first place.
Doesn't know what's going on. Exactly, and he obviously wanted to be with
Grace Khan.
Right. He wanted to be with her the whole time. And in the previous episode, he was like, so why did you marry Ken? And he's like, those reasons aren't very good. Something happened with them. She said that he was long gone, but I'm excited to find out where the relationship with them started and why it ended. There
is some history on Sam we don't know yet. We know he's a World War II veteran. We know he had some drinking problems. He doesn't drink anymore. But I think there's something deeper in his character we're yet to find out, which is going to progress as the show goes along. I think he's got some issues there that need to be dealt with. Yeah, I completely agree. Just the way that he comes across, his presence, there's something there. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. Yeah. So we've got that going on, and then we have Emma's dad sleeping with Charles Manson. I mean, what a turn of events. What was that? And what I can't work out here is he's a high, powerful lawyer. Right. Except he comes across, to me, as weak as water. Like, he's got no backbone at all, what we've seen so far. I think that he's just so, he's been suppressed for so long. He's in the closet. He can't come out, but he sees this god of a man, Charles Manson, the same way that all the girls are seeing him. And he's like, this is a way for me to be able to escape and whatnot. But obviously it's turning against him because now Emma's in the middle of this whole thing between Charles and Ken. So it's interesting. Yeah, I want to know, is that the only thing Manson has over him? Is that why Ken's paying the thousands of dollars to get Manson's demo made? Is that why Ken's doing everything Manson says? When in actual fact, Manson has his daughter. Well, you've got a family. Go get her back, man. Right. Well, I remember them saying, Ken had represented Charles Manson in a case at some point. Again, I'm kind of with you. I'm a little confused on that. So, if you guys do know, we'd really appreciate any comments so we can clear that up. But it seems, the sex and that he was his lawyer, but I don't know if he didn't get him off probation, or there's something there that Ken didn't do for Charles that made him hate him. I don't know, but it's just... And you saw in the other episode, the other lawyers are fearful of Manson too, so that's why I'm thinking there's something bigger that's happened, which I don't know what, but he's got something over them, and Ken's not helping his cause here. Manson completely owns him now, and that's going to be a problem moving forward. And Manson is... he's the master manipulator. Right. Well, he kept saying to Ken, too, he was like, you came back to me, you always said yes, now you need to keep coming back to me, And it seems like Ken's he's just terrified, because this was at a time then that it wasn't as easy to come out as it is now, So he's just scared, and it's just, it's weighing against him. Let's talk about how well do you think Charles Manson's been depicted so far from what you know about the real Charles Manson? I think that, there's a lot of really good representations of him, and a lot of the facts are lining up. Just subtle little things. How he went and kissed the feet of the girls? Yeah. That was something that Charles Manson did in real life all the time. He did it too, when... he met the Beach Boys, Wilson. Yeah. I don't know. He lived at his house for a while. He lived at his house for a while, right. And when he met him, Wilson came out and he's like, what are you doing in my house? And Charles was like, he goes, are you here to hurt me? And Charles Manson was like, I'm not here to hurt you, and started kissing his feet, to show that, that's not my intent. I'm not here to hurt you. We're here to love each other and, to get the power in a subtle way. And I really liked that they showed that, because he kissed all the girls' feet to show them, we're on the same level here. It's not, you're not just kissing my feet, I'm kissing your feet back. It's just little subtle things like that. Do you think he has that charm about him that just he draws people in? I mean, they're coming in cults. They're like, where's Charlie? Like, they're all so obsessed and so in love with him, and I'm like, it's just, I don't know. I've never understood
understood where that stemmed from.
And when he showed the girls that he had his money, which was from Ken for his demo, they acted like they just won the lottery.
Right.
Charlie's making his demo. The great things are going to happen, and they're all excited.
Have all these girls and all these people in this family have no money, and they just don't seem to care. You know, like in the last episode, Emma came up and she's like, Charlie, we have no food in the house, and you know that. He's like, yep, it's just how it is. You know, it's just how it is. Oh, and another thing that I realized was, you know, how you were talking about pairing the old, you know, actual Charles Manson actions with this. In the last episode, or the first, I think it was the second one, actually.
Yeah.
When he held Ken against the car and he slit his neck and he was like sodomizing him. Right.
Yeah. Sodomized.
Exactly. And I was reading about this, and Charles Manson, when he was in one of his boys' homes, or, you know, like a juvenile center type thing, it was a boys' home, he it was kicked out or something like that because another guy that he was with held a guy against a car with a knife, and while Charles Manson sodomized him. So it's just like that
they
little
depicted
detail.
that really well.
They depicted it, and that's something that you would never even pick up on if you know, I'm sure a lot of our viewers are really big Charles Manson, I mean, not fans, but, you know, they know all about it. I mean, they've researched it. So it's just crazy that little thing was depicted in just such a subtle way.
And he has a huge following, Charles Manson. He still does today.
He still does.
As 80 years old in prison. And I know there are a lot of people out here maybe watching, so keep us up to date. If we're missing anything, let us know, because it's one of the most famous murders in American history. Which he didn't actually do, which he influenced people to do.
It's extremely interesting, and it's just, I mean, fantastic in a gross way, you know, like. So
let's look at Emma for a second and try and go in her mind, please. Somehow she lives in the Hollywood Hills or somewhere, Beverly Hills. Beautiful views, beautiful place. Ken makes a lot of money. She's run away, and Manson's place looks exactly like a brothel. It pretty much, it's a modern day brothel, but in the 60s it's a gypsy hippie sort of place where there's free love and music being made all the time. Is this just a typical girl of the 60s? What influenced her to do this, you know? I
think that, you know, young girls at that time were just, all this free love was going on and all this stuff, and they all wanted to be a part of it. Even if their parents weren't necessarily bad to them, they're teenagers. They want to get out and experience the world and just do something new, and this is what she chose, I guess. It's just, you know, just getting out and rebelling against your parents. And, I mean, teens like that are so easily manipulated, and that's exactly what Charles does.
So how much of a fact do you think she is in the whole thing? Is this just about her, or is she going to be found and we're going to go into a much deeper path in the story?
What do you think? I really don't know. I feel like it could go either way right now, because, I mean, I was hoping that and it will turn into it, I think, but that it would be focused more on Charlie, and I feel like right now it's focused the most on Sam. And I mean, Emma's obviously a huge part of it, but I feel like she could go either way. Like, we could start, you know, keep going on with her, or she could just fall off.
There's 12 episodes left, and they know where she is. They know who she's with. I mean, she can't just be stuck there for the next 12 episodes. They must go down a different path.
Right, and obviously her dad went there, her mom went there. They both went and tried to get her. She was gone when her mom was there. She saw her dad leave, but still didn't run after him, still didn't go get him. So she wants to be there. And I think they're understanding that at this point, that, you know, like, the more you tell a teenager not to date someone, they want to go date someone because they want to go against their parents. So I feel like that's exactly what Emma's feeling right now.
Yeah, exactly. So last week, Charmaine played by Claire Holt, an Australian, so, you know, I'm an Australian. I like it. I was a bit critical, saying I didn't know what her part in the story was. But she was very influential in this episode, because she went undercover. She took a huge risk. Charmaine, and she, I mean, I don't understand why she's taking this sort of risk first, because Emma's case is not really a case. Sam's doing it off the record.
Right.
And he's taken this the young hotshot cop, Brian Shafe, with him. But this is an off-the-record case. And now, how do you pronounce her name? Charmaine?
Charmaine, yeah.
Charmaine is so she's craving respect in a men-related field in the 60s,
right,
where men had little respect for women in some regards.
Exactly.
And she's prepared to do anything. But I don't know why she's doing this when it's not even a case. It's just a missing persons, and why she was that influenced to do it.
Right. Well, I mean, she said to Brian in the car, he was like, basically you didn't have to do that. And she's like, I want to be as good at my job as you are. So exactly like you're saying, it's a male-dominated profession. She feels like she has to prove herself. Why she would go as far as having a foursome, I'm not 100% sure. If that actually, I wasn't
sure, but that's what happened, right?
Well,
that's the impression I got.
At first I was like, I don't think that she would have done that, but the guy and the two girls and Charmaine came back, and he was like, Charles was like, how did she do? And he was like, well, she has a lot of work to do, but, she'll be good. So obviously it happened, because he wouldn't just get that out of nowhere. He wouldn't lie to Charles about it. He's his main man. So obviously she did that. And it's like, and she said it. She was like, I wanted to, to Brian in the car, because she wants to be respected, and she's going to do whatever it takes to get there. Especially because they really have no way of getting to Charles without a woman. Because women are the ones that want to come in, and, he's only interested in them right now. So these two undercover cops aren't going to get in there without...
No, she's the perfect piece.
She's a perfect piece.
A young woman.
Beautiful. She blends in. She looks like a hippie.
And she's playing it really well. Like the howling and what she said. And I was
that was so weird.
Even like Brian, the undercover pop, was like, where'd you learn that from?
She's like, I just basically, made it up.
But, yeah. But you hit the hell, you got it right.
Right. It also kind of seemed a little confusing, because I feel like they were a little, like, you could kind of tell that they were undercover cops. Like, maybe it wasn't as big back then, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like just watching it, I was like, they're totally undercover cops. Like, how does he not see this? Did you feel like that?
I didn't, but that's interesting you said that. So you think, that Manson, and he knows, he's been watched.
Yeah.
But he should have been onto them.
Charles Manson has gotten into so many bad stuff in the past, and been in and out of jail and whatnot. And he knows that the cops are, watching him and staying around and being active or whatever. And these two people just come in, and Brian's like, oh, she wants to see you. And then he brings her back again and was like, remember last time how she wasn't able to get with you? Now she wants to. And I'm like, it's just kind of like, it seemed a little obvious to me. I was like, how do they not know that they're undercover cops? But, again, I don't know if that was something that was big back then, or... Maybe
Manson's just become so... He thinks he's God to women. So women come marching in, he doesn't think twice anymore.
But doesn't he think that it's strange that Brian came with? I don't think it would be as strange if Charmaine came by herself. But Brian was just like, he was just...
True.
Is it like her boyfriend, and he's like, I'll pawn her off to Charles Manson?
And Manson caught him snooping around with the phone in his room, and I'm like, this is awkward.
And
they sort of let it go.
That's why, thank you for bringing that up, because that's one of the points that I was forgetting. That should have tipped him off, if anything else didn't, that he was snooping through all his stuff. Like, he still didn't understand that he was an undercover cop. Like, come on. Come on, why would he be... And he's like, you got a cool pad here. Like... Nah,
I thought that scene...
I don't buy it.
Yeah, he got out of that too easy. As soon as I watched that, I was like, all right, here we go. What's Brian going to do here? There's something going to happen. Manson just didn't care.
And he was like, no big deal, man. Like, whatever.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. But Charmaine, I thought, she slept with the guy. She had a foursome. Mm-hmm. She can't go any lower. Is that what it was?
It was the two girls and the guy.
Jeez.
Plus Charmaine, that's 4.
And I think she came out of her own when it was towards the end of the show. She was getting questioned by she was questioning that woman, and the cops came in, bullied her around, and she told her boss that, do they make pants for men,
Yeah, because she wants to be seen as their equal, and if not their equal, more powerful than them.
So
that's her goal.
She's really going for that. I think she's got a big part to play, because she's in now with Manson. She's sort of proven herself. Now, what's she going to do now? How deep will she go? I think we're going to find that out soon.
Because, she's the one that's in there now, so it's all going to be up to her to figure out what's going on.
So now let's touch on Sam's partner, Brian, and I think their relationship's fascinating, because it's sort of really old school. In Sam, he doesn't believe in abiding by the law and interrogation. He's sort of a corrupt cop in many ways.
Right.
And then you've got the young, good-looking Brian guy who's like, he's married to a black woman. Mm-hmm. He's got black kids. Half an hour, whatever, you know.
Right.
He's almost ahead of his time. He almost belongs now than the 60s, and he abides by the rules. Every time Sam does something that could be illegal, Brian points it out. Mm-hmm. Do you like the relationship they're forming now and how they're working together?
I think it's a good balance, honestly, because wasn't it in one of the first 2 episodes when, you know, they were arresting the black man to basically make the husband confessed that he had killed his wife. They were doing that just as a ploy to make the husband confess, but Brian was like, that's not right. You can't just arrest this guy, you know, because he's black. It doesn't matter. And I feel like they will really level each other out in that sense, where the things that Brian's doing wrong, Sam will come back. And, you know, I feel like their relationship is really crucial to what's going to be happening.
Yeah, that was a significant moment in the other episode when, after that big fight they had, he told Sam to drive him home, where he didn't say anything. He walked in and he saw at the dinner table Brian's black wife and family.
And he didn't say anything. He just let him see it himself.
I think Sam had respect for him as soon as he saw that. He's like, this guy's tough. This guy means business. This guy knows what he stands for.
Right. And we obviously know the racial issue is going to be a huge thing throughout the entire series because obviously it's the 60s, and second of all, that's basically what Charles Manson based his entire reign on, was Helter Skelter, which is, you know, the impending apocalypse that the blacks are going to take over and come to power over the whites. So it's all a racial tension war, the entire thing. So I mean, little things like this that are happening in the show, of how the black man was arrested, about how Brian has a black wife and child. It's all it's there for a reason.
Yeah, it is building, and it's like, say, Breaking Bad, one of my favourite shows ever.
Oh my gosh, me too.
It took me probably 5 episodes to get into that. I had to really go hard. It was hard watching through the first 5 episodes. It was slower for me. This is a bit like that, but I feel success on the horizon. You know, I feel like it's building with all these parts.
Even today, I felt, to be honest, that the episode was a little slow. Like, I was like, okay, but I was still 100% interested in it, just because I'm interested in the subject matter, and I feel like it can go in a really good way. Yeah,
and I think they've done it. There's always the 60s music. There's they've depicted the 60s, not that I lived it, obviously, but what I've studied of it very, very well, I think. Someone who's lived in the 60s, chime in on that. Garner Girl Show on Twitter.
No, and I agree with that, because I feel like even the way that they're depicting the cops, because, I mean, in that time, the cops were different. People didn't have respect for them after what was going on with all this, because, you know, just little things that the cop said in the show. He was like, oh, the guy's in the car if you want to go point and laugh at him. I feel like that's not something that would be as cool to just say to the entire cop base, you know? And, like, even when the man died in this episode, he was like, oh, what's the time of death? It was last night. Like, that's not a thing anymore. Like, the cops were just so nonchalant. And, like, you can tell the way that all the hippies are treating them. They come in and, you know, now it's like, oh, the cops are here. We're scared. You know, they're powerful. They're authority. You know, we're going to abide by it. And, like, back then they were just like, dude, get out of here. Like, I don't even know why you're here. They're pushing them around. They're mad that they don't have long hair like they do. They didn't respect them. And it's a whole nother deal with the cops. So I think that part is cool that they're able to show that.
What do you think we're ever going to find out what happened between Grace and Sam? Because they dated for a while.
Grace and Sam. Oh.
Grace, Emma's mother, and Sam.
Well, they hooked up.
And they hooked up at the end.
Hooked up.
Which I predicted on predictions last week, by the way. Go back, watch the episode. I couldn't have watched any more. I predicted that hookup. I could see it.
Well, yeah,
I was just tooting my own horn here, but I got it right.
Well, Grace is still married, but her husband is in the closet. She doesn't know it yet, but he's doing his own thing. They obviously probably don't have that great of a relationship anymore.
She doesn't love him.
She doesn't love him.
You can tell.
She doesn't love him. And Sam is not married anymore. So I feel like, you know, they like we were saying at the beginning, they had this relationship, and now they hooked up, so we're going to figure out what's going on with that.
Why, when Sam entered the Manson's place to look for Emma, but Emma was shooting the demo, so she wasn't there. Grace came with him, and Grace was really disgusted by it when the kids said to her that my parents know I'm here.
She was disgusted.
Why was Grace there?
Grace was there because she wanted to go with and get Emma out of there.
Well, I just thought that was Sam's job. I just didn't think it was right.
It was kind of weird.
A mum to be there of a missing child. I just thought that was funny.
But I mean, I feel like if I was a mom right now, I would be doing everything, just going, I'd be like, I'm coming with, like, I'm gonna find her, so I feel like she was just like, I need to go, I need to find it. And then afterwards we heard her say, she was like, before I thought it was just gonna be a thing where I could get her back, and she's laying somewhere crying for her mom and wanting me to come find her, and she's like, now that I saw the place that she willingly went to, I don't even know anything anymore, because now she understands that Emma's not, she wasn't taken, she wasn't kidnapped, she wasn't brought anywhere against her will. She did that on purpose, and she's in this disgusting, gross place with all these hippies that are just all with each other, all having, whatever they're doing, and she's grossed out. It's a brothel.
It's literally, that's the first thing I thought when I walk in. You saw each room, people having sex. They didn't
care. They're all having sex. They're all kissing each other. It doesn't matter to them. One girl will be with Charlie, and then the next one will go right with her. They don't care. And how they'll just pimp themselves out to anybody else. It doesn't matter if it's Charles Manson or not. It's anybody.
And this is all actually true, because I read the other day that when Manson lived at the Beach Boy drummer's place, Wilson, what was
his last name was Wilson. I can't remember his first name at the moment, but
they actually had to desensitize the whole house after, because it was full of gonorrhea.
Oh yeah, Wilson ended up having over $100,000 worth of bills that he owed after the Manson family was staying with him, because, well, first of all, they crashed one of his cars, which was like $21,000, but he had a huge medical bill because he had to treat all of them for gonorrhea.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
That's disgusting. I mean, and the fact that it was just like, yeah, we'll just treat him and whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, he paid for all this and he still let him stay at his house for a while. Like, it makes me wonder what actually happened with that, and I don't know. I don't know what happened with him as much, but...
Real quick, guys, the Wilson you're talking about is Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys.
Brian Wilson. I wanted to say Johnny, and I'm like, I know that's not right.
All the music lovers will be hating me right now for not knowing that last name.
Right. And I mean, when Brian Wilson came into the picture was because two of the Manson family girls were hitchhiking. He picked them up, and then they all went into his house, and Wilson came home, and that's when I was talking about Charlie kissing his feet, and he was like, what is everybody doing here? And apparently he just still let him stay, which is something that would not happen
not these
at
days.
all. And it's crazy that he just was like, okay, and then by that time they had like 18, 20 girls staying in there in his house. And he was like, okay. And then at some point, his manager or someone kicked the family out, and then they went to, I think it was Spawn Ranch or something. But, I mean, it's crazy that they stayed there for that long. He treated their gonorrhea. He paid for all their stuff. Like, come on, dude.
Do you ever think, is Charles Manson in his cell? Has he heard about this show? He would have heard about it.
I'm sure.
There would have been no, he wouldn't have spoken to any of the actors about it, playing him. I'm definitely not, right? Because he's still a weirdo. If the main character, Gethin Anthony, yeah. If he went and talked to Charlie about it beforehand, I don't think that would... I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works, though. Me neither, but I can't see it.
But he's got to know that there's a series about him.
Yeah.
Don't they have to, go through them?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
If someone can help me, but I'm not sure how much they went into it. Because it's a fictional story, too. It's just based around him.
Right.
But it all stemmed, correct me if I'm wrong, from the fact that Manson was obsessed with music and he was jealous that he wasn't a rock and roll star.
Yeah, well, he was getting to the point where a couple people were noticing him here and there.
So he was good.
I've never heard him, but it seemed like some people didn't like him, and then some people were like, oh, yeah, you're pretty good. You're going to be up there with everybody else. But then I don't know what happened. He didn't get to that point, and then he just heard the Beatles' White Album and got obsessed and started going on with this.
Because it's just, we're going off the show, but into the history a bit more, but it's amazing to me that these people got so brainwashed by this guy that they brutally killed for him.
Murdered. They stabbed brutally 50 times, 60 times, 70 times. And Charles didn't do any of it. He just sat by and watched.
This guy's the greatest manipulator of all time. He can be classified into Hitlers, the Stalin, all the greatest dictators.
Right. That's why
who had influence on people. He's got to be up there with his little cult.
Exactly. That's why I like little things that they're showing in the episodes too is how, you know, when Emma went up to him and she said, "Hey, was my dad here? I just saw him." And he was like, "You know what? He was asking me how much money that he could give me to get you, as if you were some used car," and manipulating Emma against her dad, like putting all this, just brainwashing
it's
her.
Great you pointed that out. As soon as I saw that scene, I'm like, well acted, well played, Gethlin Anthony. This is, you're just getting in her head. This
Exactly.
is just proving the fact that why she ran away in the first place, any doubt she had.
It's a complete manipulation.
So we saw towards the end the guy that recorded Manson's demo. In the last scene, he came and he gave him these women.
These women, right.
Which one of them was Emma, right?
And he was like, "You can have them whenever you want them. They're yours now."
But he said it in a creepy way. It was meant to be a reward for him recording the demo. Am I right?
That's what it seemed like to me. I was a little confused at that part, but it seemed like it.
It's unbelievable. It's just,
but were they on his? It seemed like they were on his ranch as well, right? Because the recorder guy was like, "Hey, this isn't going to be good. There's ambient sound around here. Let's move it somewhere else." And Charles was just on cloud nine. He was like, "I don't care. We're going to record this anyways." And there was obviously some sort of deal. But you're right, because it didn't seem like the recorder guy at the end knew that these girls. It wasn't like they were part of the deal. He was like, "All right, hand them over." You know, Charlie just brought it to them.
he was freaked. He was freaked out.
He was like, "Whoa.
Are you kidding me? You're just giving me women? And it's like dark. It's night. You just come here with women for me. You know what's the deal?"
It's crazy.
But there's also the Manson aspect in finding Emma. Then there's also the other story where Sam is a cop. He's a detective, and he's got to go about these murders. And you know, we got a glimpse of it this episode where the guy that's been arrested, Mike Vickery, is actually Brian Shafe's snitch. So, but he can't give that away. So I don't know what's going to happen there. We're going to learn more. But I thought that was interesting. That's also leading up to something later on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that part was a little... I feel like we're going to learn more about that, which I'm hoping, because it kind of confused me a little bit at the time. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I feel like it's...
There's more to come. I love how David Duchovny's playing this character. Are you enjoying it?
Oh, yeah. It seems like he's just like... He knows he's a badass. He's just nonchalant about it. He's like, "I'm going to figure it out." Like... You know,
it reminds me of all his parts in a weird way. Like Californication, he's sort of the badass, laid-back dude, you know, cool dude. This, when he went up into Manson's place, the way he arrests people, the way he doesn't really abide by the laws, but he is actually ultra smart. He's full of confidence.
Right.
But then there's also baggage there with his former drinking problems. He's a veteran.
Right.
And he's got his son missing. Who's, I don't know what's going on there. He's come back from Vietnam, which is illegal in those days, punishable by death. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, the mom wrote a letter saying that she was sick or going to die because his partner said, he was like, the only way that they can leave is if their parents are dying. So exactly, like it's illegal, and that's why when the mom came to him, he was like, you know, I mean, he's going to go to jail for it. And it seemed like he was going to abide by the law there, because he's like, you can't just do this. It's not just something that...
They even offered him a way out. So the police offered to help him, saying, "Look, we can pull a few strings here." And he's like, no. That's the one time he was actually by the book.
Right. And which is strange, because it's against his son. Yeah. And that's the time that he's, I'm going to abide by the law this time, you know?
Yeah, that's what I found. Maybe it's some war protocol. He's seen the war. He's been in it. I don't know. But, yeah. So, how much of a factor do you think his son's going to play later on? Do you think we're ever going to see him? It's just going to be a story, or is he going to come? Is he going to appear?
It's kind of a weird piece to me. Like, I want to see how it's going to fit more into the story, because right now I'm kind of like, wait, who's, Walt? That's his name. It's just kind of like, it's not as a main character as everybody else, and I'm kind of trying to figure out how exactly it's all going to come together. But I mean, obviously he's there for a reason. I don't think he would just be in for no reason. So
okay, so yeah, we've gone. There's so many parts of this story, so let's sort of simplify it. There's Sam and Brian, who are working together, and then there's Charmaine, the woman who's meant to be suspected, who's gone undercover with them to help Brian find Emma. Then there's the added pieces to this to this piece. There's the ex-wife who's got Sam's son in trouble. Mm-hmm. Then there's Sam's ex-girlfriend, who's Emma's mum, who's married to Ken Khan.
Who's now sleeping with him. Yeah, they're all intertwined.
So everything's intertwined, so what do you think's going to happen? Jeez, it's a long way to go. There's, 12 episodes left?
12 episodes, so we got a long way. That's why I kind of feel like today's episode was a little bit slower, just because, I mean, they have 12 episodes left. It's not like... And I feel like this is a series that's going to be set up to keep going. You know, it's not like it's a mini-series or something. So... I don't know. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, I wanted to know how far you thought it would go, because I'm hoping it goes up to the Manson murders.
I definitely think it's going to. I know that, like, the description on this was that these cops are going undercover to find Emma, but little not known to them, you know, it ends up leading them to Charlie Manson. So I feel like, and in the description, it did talk about the Tate LaBianca murders, and those are the most famous ones. So I feel like it's got to go to that point. Or if it doesn't, it's probably, I kind of predict that it's going to maybe end right before the Tate LaBianca murders to set it up for the next
We're going to do predictions soon.
Okay.
So you're going to think of another prediction now, because you already just said that one.
But isn't that, you know, because I feel like it could definitely...
Yeah, I hope so.
Set it up. They want to set it up for another season.
People that don't know about the Manson murders, do you think this show, what do you think? Do you think it's, you know, they're enlightening them? Do you think they're going and researching it now? Or
I don't know if it's necessarily enlightening them, because I mean, it might, but I feel like they're not talking as much about Manson right now. Yeah. I mean, they are doing little subtle things, like obviously we mentioned before, but it seems more like a cop drama at this point. But that's why I feel like it'll get to that point. Because right now, Charlie's not committing any murders. So they're trying to focus on the whole backstory of everything with, you know, the cop and everything to figure out how they're going to go about this. But right now, Charlie's not committing murder, so...
right now it's before he met the Beach Boys. It's before everything. Mm-hmm. Before he really becomes Charlie Manson. We're just getting an insight into his personality. Before
he listened to the Beatles album, and that's the biggest part that started his craziness, is because he listened to the White Album and was like, he was like, the Beatles are writing this album about our family, about the Manson family. He thought that they directed it specifically to them, because he was like, you know, they're talking about a high group that's going to come and have all this power. And he was like, they're doing it in a subtle way, and we can make our music just as subtle. Right when he listened to that White Album, he was like, helter skelter, instantly it all started unraveling. So I'm just excited to see when he actually starts listening to the album, because that's when the craziness starts.
And what do you think? Grace and Sam, they hooked up at the end. Do you think that's going anywhere? Do you think that's going to cause problems? Going to keep it strictly business? What? Not
strictly business. I think it's going to go somewhere. And I feel like everyone's going to find out, and Grace is going to find out that her husband's gay, and all this stuff's going to go on. But it's definitely going to play a part in it, because that's the whole reason why Sam's even involved in this, is because Grace called him and said, hey, I need you to look for my daughter. If not, he wouldn't even be involved in the story. So there's got to be something that goes on with them.
Okay, so let's get to, finally, predictions.
Predictions.
And now, your
Afterbuzz predictions. All right.
After
Guy?
You.
No,
after
first.
you. You go first. Ladies first.
I already gave one. Remember?
Give another one. This is predictions.
Let me think.
You didn't have one either. That's why you wanted me to go.
I just had one, and then I already gave it up. I don't know. I think in the next episode, Ken is going to have to come out to his family about what was going on, because at this point, Grace is still, she has no idea what's going on, because as we saw in the preview, he gets a call from Charles in the next episode. So he's going to have to come clean and let her know everything that's happening in order to move forward with the case, I feel like. Because he knows way more about Charles Manson than anybody else that's looking for him does. So I feel like he plays a huge part in that, and I feel like he's going to have to come out to everybody.
Yeah, I don't think it's just the gay thing there. I think that he's gay. I think there's more to that, because he's so quiet, he's so shady,
right.
He's so like...
Well, he
gutless.
obviously fell for him when he was representing him or something, just like everybody else falls for him. But yeah, it was something with
there's
law.
There's something going on there which I'm curious about.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've got 12 weeks together. We're gonna talk about it.
I can't wait.
But I made the prediction last week that I'm just tooting my own horn again, that Grace and Sam would hook up. I really went out on the limb, though. You could see it last week, right? So it wasn't a great prediction.
You know what? Oh, go ahead.
But I am going to predict that... I don't know. I think Sam... There's so much history we don't know about him yet that I think that he's going to get himself in real trouble. Something's going to happen with his son. Something's going to happen with him. He's going to have to do more, something really illegal. I don't know, but this ex-wife, the son, him also being a former alcoholic, it's all going to come together somehow. Now, it's not a big prediction here, but I just know.
I kind of predict that at some point Emma's going to leave. I don't think she's going to stay in that cult for the entire time. I think that because she already is very weary and very hesitant about stuff that's going on with Charles. I mean, she's getting a little more used to it, but I feel like she's going to at some point realize it and be like, I'm out of here. But at that point, they're going to be so deep in the case that they're going to keep going, and that's when the murders are going to start happening and everything. I don't think that Emma's going to stay in there the whole time because I think that she's too sweet and too...
So you think
she doesn't come? I don't know.
So you think she's going to go out of the whole series? She's going to be gone?
No, not necessarily out of the whole
series. You think
series.
she's going to still play a part?
I think so, but I don't think she's going to be in the brothel anymore, in the family anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just have a feeling that she's too sweet. She comes from a good family. I don't think that she's going to stay in there for that much longer. I don't know, but I mean,
it has to end somewhere. I think there's not much more they can go with that.
I just feel like they're going to be so far into it at that point, into the investigation, that they're like, okay, we're happy to have her out of here, but we got to keep going with this because he's going to be the cop that's on this case now.
Just quickly, I was going through like Twitter and social media the other day, and this Grey Damon that plays Brian, every girl loves him. Are you just another bandwagon?
Oh, he's a cutie. I like him.
Not as obsessed as the other girls.
I'm not as obsessed, but he's a cutie.
I like that. All right, guys, that just about wraps things up for us. So you can check us out on iTunes anytime or on YouTube. Social media.
Yes. Everything. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope that you keep coming back and figuring out how this story unfolds. You can follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere at Paige Bonanno.
And remember, guys, if you watch the whole 12 episodes, we're just watching it one by one. We're in here, and we want to hear responses from you. So stay with us. Tweet me at GuyandAGirlShow.com. This has been Afterbuzz TV, Aquarius, Season 1, Episode 3. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Afterbuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the Afterbuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterbuzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of Afterbuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.